Yes. The age-old question. You have to pardon me. I had a coughing fit from hell earlier. Yes, there are different degrees, different categories of coughing fits. And you actually have to have been in hell to get the coughing fit from hell category to understand it. So I guess I exaggerate just a little when I say coughing fit from hell. Let's just say I had a really bad coughing fit, the kind that I had tears running down my face kind of coughing fit. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yes, the age-old question. What if atheists are wrong? I've done a video or two on this one, and I just did one today, another Animoto video that was inspired by a really great video I was very impressed by, put out by Essence of Thought with the same title. What if atheism is wrong and Christianity, Islam, or Judaism is correct? And there's really no way I can even come close to topping the brilliant video that Essence of Thought put out. Wow. Powerful. I loved it. Anyway, but once again, it made me think about the whole what if I'm wrong question. And you know, I'm really comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with the idea that I could be wrong, and I'm comfortable with the idea that I might go to hell because I oppose something that I think is really very evil. I oppose evil. I'm not an evil person. I'm actually I'm against evil, and I don't think I'm wrong about the existence of a God. I don't think a God exists, but to me it's not just it goes a lot further than whether or not a God exists. And Christians can defend all they want to, the whole, well, God exists because whatever, fill in the blank, whatever reason they come up with that equals nature and science. But it doesn't change the fact that the God, the character that they worship, that they think is worthy of putting on a pedestal, I find reprehensible and repugnant. And let's see if there's any other big words I can come up with. He's offensive. Why would I want to worship that? Why would any good person want to worship that? So to me, it doesn't really matter if that God exists, and you know what? I'm on the right team. I'm on the right team. I wouldn't want to be on that team now that I've seen the true colors. The blinders are off. I'm seeing the big picture. I'm not just seeing the carefully guided little bit that's presented to people, by the religious institution or whatever. I'm seeing the whole picture. I'm seeing something that I would never want to worship. I'm seeing something that makes Satan look like a nice guy. And, Satan's just doing what he's told. Feel bad for him. I feel like more comfortable with what I believe or feel in my heart than I've ever felt in my entire life. And no matter what Christian wants to throw what verse from the Bible at me, which I also think is mostly evil, doesn't matter. It doesn't change the fact that their God does what he does and says what he does and condones what he does in the Old Testament, and then along comes Jesus, who basically underlines and affirms and confirms everything that the Old Testament has in it, as this shall stand forever, or until whatever. He doesn't say, back then our culture was different and we had to have it that way, but I'm here to tell you that now things can be, we don't need to have slavery anymore. And I'm here to tell you now that little girls shouldn't be raped, and there shouldn't be human sacrifice, and we shouldn't stone people to death for anything. But he doesn't contribute really in any meaningful way to advancing the society from where it is. He says a bunch of things that have been said before by former prophets or whatever, from other religions. There's nothing original about Christianity and what words they put in Jesus's mouth. And they don't make any attempt to explain. It's like the New Testament comes along, and then Christianity works its ass off for the next 2,000 years trying to carefully direct people's attention from the Old Testament and only look at this part of the Bible, and only little bits of the Old Testament that's carefully selected as, okay, this won't shatter their faith too much. And meanwhile, the followers are constantly encouraged to, don't doubt, don't let anything make you stumble in your walk with God. Anyway, so that's my answer to what if you're wrong. I'm comfortable with that. I'm going with what my conscience dictates. And I could not, in all good conscience, follow a God that does what this one does and orders and commands what this one does. I'm less in his eyes than a man is. I'm considerably less in his eyes than a man is. I shouldn't be allowed to teach. I shouldn't be allowed to have any kind of authority over men. I shouldn't be probably allowed to really, any of what I'm comfortable, what I do in my life is probably all against God's will. For women are saved by childbirth. I believe there's a verse in the Bible that says that women are saved by childbirth. Let me see if I can find it. Women are saved by childbirth. It's amazing what you can find online if you just Google, Timothy. Here we go. 1 Timothy 2, verse 15. Notwithstanding, she will be saved in childbearing. Let me see if I can find the actual verse. Isn't that special? It's like, can we say any louder that women are just breeding stock? The only redeeming quality about a woman is the fact that she can have babies. That's basically what this verse is saying. But women will be saved through childbearing, assuming they continue to live in faith, love, holiness, and honesty. Holiness and modesty. So women will be saved through childbearing. What about all the women who don't have children? What if all the women who don't have children but continue to live in faith, love, holiness, and modesty, but they don't have children, are they going to be saved? Another, the King James Bible, Cambridge edition. Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing, if they continue in faith and charity and holiness with sobriety. Probably said that wrong too, but anyway, I just think that's a really disgusting verse. It's like slap oh gosh, a number on her neck and stick her in a box stall. Yeah, women are just, we have no value at all except the fact that we can produce children. The sad thing is, because of this religion and the Bible and this way of thinking, there's a lot of men and even women that think this way even today, that a woman is really just here to produce babies. So anyway, yeah, I don't find that is not a God I would worship. I would not worship a God that deliberately makes half the world's population to be inferior, and the only redeemable quality is whether they can pump out children. And that's just one of the reasons why I think this God is reprehensible and nothing remotely worth worshiping. And I question all the people that are on their knees to this God, proclaiming him good and proclaiming him loving. You have not read the Bible. That's all I can think of. It's just the only answer is you have not read the Bible, because that was my story when I was back then thinking all those things about God, feeling warm and fuzzy. It was because I hadn't read the Bible. And Christians who say, oh yes, I read the Bible and I still think he's great. I don't believe you really have read the Bible. I think you're full of shit. I think you really read what you're supposed to read and what your church has told you to read. But I don't believe you've read that Bible cover to cover. I really have a hard time believing anybody can read that book cover to cover and still want to worship that God. I would rather go to hell. I would rather, just to make a statement, just to stay true to who I am and what's in my heart, I would rather go to hell and suffer eternity than bend my knee to that. So, anyway, and something else I wanted to say that I kind of tacked onto the end of a video I did the other day, and it's like after 10 minutes of mindless fluff that I say it. I think Christianity and religion needs to, I'm going to do a Richard Dawkins kind of statement here, but I just think it's not enough to just be opposed to it. I think it needs to be resisted. It needs to be fought against. It is a poison, and every time you open the paper or look on the news anymore, you see a new example of how much of a poison it is and what it's doing, what it does. It needs to be stopped. It's destroying America. It really is. Religion is destroying this country. And if you don't believe it, all you need to do is look around at the less religious countries in the world and see how much better they're doing. How much less their crime is. So, anyway, really, my throat is shot from all the coffee. If you've been watching, thanks. Bye-bye.